What if the things you've been throwing away could become the most beautiful part of your garden? Today, we're going to take you on a journey where broken iron gates, old bicycle wheels, vintage suitcases, and even bathtubs find a second life, not as trash, but as living, breathing pieces of art. This is Backyard Fortune, a channel where we believe beauty can grow from anything. Inside this video, you'll find timestamps to help you explore, and if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And if you enjoy this, take what you have right now and start creating. Every click, every share, every little act of support means the world to us. Behind this content is a family with a dream. When you like, comment, or subscribe, you're not just supporting a video, you're helping a small story grow. You're keeping hope alive. Thank you for being here, and thank you for seeing us. One bamboo vineyard fence. Imagine walking through a quiet European garden at dawn, where the first light of morning touches the leaves and every detail seems alive with purpose. Here, the fences are not just boundaries, they are companions to growth, crafted from humble bamboo that has been patiently tied together. Instead of steel or concrete, these slender poles form a vineyard-style trellis, where grapevines climb eagerly, offering clusters of fruit that hang like jewels in the sunlight. Beneath this living wall, rows of carrots push their crowns above the soil, lettuce spreads its bright leaves, and tomatoes blush red against the green. You can almost hear the hum of bees moving from flower to flower, as if nature itself approves of this handmade creation. As the day unfolds, the same fence becomes a stage for climbing cucumbers and beans, their tendrils wrapping gracefully around the bamboo. The air is scented with lavender and marigolds, whose blooms not only brighten the garden but also keep unwanted pests away. There is a practical wisdom here, pairing beauty with function, food with fragrance. A basket of apples left by the fence seems to belong naturally to this place, as though the harvest is always within arm's reach. In this moment, the garden feels like a painting that breathes, where every color and texture carries its own story. By evening, the fence takes on another character. The sun slips lower, warming the bamboo to a golden glow while the vineyard grapes deepen in color. Pumpkins settle into the soil nearby, their round orange forms bright against rows of cabbage and broccoli. Birds rest quietly on the fence's edge, adding a gentle rhythm to the scene. Here lies one of the simplest but most powerful truths, that recycled bamboo, when given intention, can hold more than just plants. It can hold an entire ecosystem of flavor, color, and life. And if you are tempted to try this yourself, know that it does not demand perfection. A handful of bamboo poles, tied with rope or twine, can be enough to start. Let climbing plants find their way, and plant vegetables or flowers that bring you joy at the base. Over time, the fence will become more than a structure. It will grow into a story you can taste, smell, and share. A story written in grapes, apples, cucumbers, and blossoms. That is the beauty of working with your hands in the garden. What begins as a simple DIY project can become a sanctuary where practicality and poetry meet. Two, tire harvest wall. In a quiet corner of the garden, where the sun spills its warmth across cobblestones, something unexpected begins to grow. Not from polished wood or stone walls, but from old car tires stacked carefully into a living wall. Once abandoned, now painted in soft pastel colors, they glow against the golden afternoon light. From their circular frames spill cascades of lettuce, herbs, and strawberries, their red fruit catching the eye like jewels. Butterflies hover above, bees hum gently between blossoms, and suddenly what once seemed like waste feels like a secret doorway into abundance. Move closer, and the story continues. Along a rustic border, the black rubber of unpainted tires frames an enchanting display of peppers, tomatoes, and basil. Morning glories weave their way through the spokes, soft purple flowers tumbling freely and turning the tires into something alive. Sparrows dart from rim to rim, carrying the liveliness of the countryside on their wings. There's a harmony here, function meeting beauty, the practical side of planting blending effortlessly with the poetic rhythm of nature. Further along, the design becomes bolder. Larger tires are stacked into giant rings, each hosting a different crop. Pumpkins and eggplants sit side by side, their glossy skins glowing against dark soil. Broccoli spreads its sturdy green crowns, while cucumbers stretch outward, curling into the air. The fence runs alongside an orchard where apple and pear trees stand in quiet dignity, their blossoms soft in the breeze. As the sunlight shifts, it catches the rounded forms of fruit and leaf, creating a mosaic of colors that feels both deliberate and wild. This idea, though simple, carries a quiet wisdom. Tires, usually destined for waste, become vessels of life. They hold soil firmly, keep moisture longer, and offer vertical space where gardens are small. With just a touch of paint or the patience to let vines weave through, they turn into sculptures that feed both body and soul. Anyone can begin. One tire, a little soil, a handful of seeds. With time, the wall will tell its own story, not just of strawberries and pumpkins, but of creativity, resilience, and the joy of watching beauty grow where few expect it. Three, whiskey bottle light border. When the sun begins to dip low and the sky turns to shades of amber and violet, there is a moment when the garden transforms into something almost dreamlike. Here, the borders are not made of stone or wood, but of bottles that once held stories of their own. Recycled whiskey bottles, set carefully into the soil, now glow with the soft flicker of candlelight. The gentle flames reflect off green and amber glass, casting a warm shimmer over rows of lettuce, carrots, and tomatoes. Around the edges, lavender sways and daisies open their faces to the fading light, as though the whole garden is holding its breath in wonder. By day, these bottles serve another purpose. Their glass catches the sun, turning an ordinary border into a line of living jewels. Some are arranged upright, standing proudly like guardians of the vineyard corner where cucumbers climb and grapevines twist with quiet determination. Bees weave in and out, lingering on marigolds planted between the bottles. The air carries the scent of rosemary and thyme, reminding anyone who passes by that this is not only a space of beauty, but also of nourishment and life. And when evening deepens, another kind of magic appears. Bottles set neck down into the soil sparkle with fairy lights threaded inside, illuminating the path with a steady golden glow. They guide the eye past blooming cabbages, peppers in shades of red and yellow, and strawberries that gleam like jewels beneath the leaves. Beyond them, apple trees sway gently in the twilight breeze. It is simple, almost effortless, yet it feels as though the garden itself is whispering a story to anyone willing to listen. This is the quiet genius of recycling. Ordinary bottles that might have been discarded are given a second life, both practical and poetic. They mark borders, protect plants, and bring light to the night, all while reducing waste. To try it yourself requires little more than soil, a few old bottles, and a spark of imagination. Add candles, fairy lights, or let the sun alone play on the glass. The result is a border that does more than frame a garden. It creates a sanctuary where food, flowers, and light exist in harmony, and where the simple act of reuse becomes a source of wonder. Four, rustic drum planter fence. In the rolling hills of the countryside, where cobblestone paths meander past golden fields, a line of old metal drums stands transformed. Once forgotten, these drums have been cut in half and painted in soft shades of pastel, now serving as planters that brim with life. Sunflowers stretch tall, their golden faces turning toward the sun, while tomato vines spill scarlet clusters down their trellises. Beans climb upward with steady grace, their green tendrils wrapping around string supports. Butterflies dance above, weaving patterns in the warm afternoon light, and suddenly the fence feels less like a barrier and more like a celebration of growth. Elsewhere in the garden, drums left in their natural, time-worn state tell a different story. Rust and silver shine together as ivy drapes down the sides in soft cascades. Pumpkins rest in their round, orange brilliance beside deep purple eggplants and bunches of fragrant basil. Birds perch lightly on the rims, dipping their heads to peck at seeds, while grapevines climb the stone wall behind, heavy with fruit. The contrast of metal, stone, and greenery creates a harmony that is both rustic and elegant, reminding us that beauty is often found in imperfection. Further along, bright colors appear. Drums painted in vivid reds, blues, and greens line the border, some even hand-decorated with cheerful floral patterns. From them sprout cabbages with wide green leaves, broccoli with proud crowns, fiery red chili peppers, and strawberry vines that spill fruit over the edges. Lavender sways at the base, filling the air with fragrance, while bees move tirelessly from flower to flower. In the soft morning light, the scene feels alive with energy, as though each drum is telling its own story through the crops it holds. This is the quiet ingenuity of upcycling. What was once industrial waste is reborn as a vibrant garden structure. The practicality is undeniable. Drums offer deep soil for roots, durable walls against weather, and the chance to organize crops in bold, creative patterns. Yet the true magic lies in how they bring personality into the garden. With a little paint, a touch of imagination, and seeds planted with care, these drums become more than planters. They become living sculptures that transform a simple border into a sanctuary of food and beauty. Five, bicycle rim trellis. The morning sun spills softly across the countryside, and here, an ordinary garden becomes something extraordinary. Along the rows of vegetables, a fence of recycled bicycle rims rises like a playful sculpture. Their circles gleam in the light, and from each spoke, vines of beans and grapes climb and weave. Carrots, lettuces, and cabbages flourish below, their colors made richer by the gentle warmth of dawn. The rims, once discarded, now carry life again, becoming both a trellis and a piece of art that feels like it belongs in a European fairytale garden. As the day stretches into golden evening, the rims take on a different charm. Old bicycle wheels, tied together with coarse rustic rope, form a fence that is as functional as it is beautiful. Cucumbers and peas dangle from the wires, while lavender sways at their base, filling the air with fragrance. Sunflowers reach proudly skyward, catching the last rays of the day. A simple basket of apples rests against the fence, as though waiting for someone to pause and gather them before dinner. This is where creativity meets practicality, where the beauty of reuse becomes a gift to both the garden and the soul. And when the garden deepens into full bloom, the rims stand like guardians of growth. Tomatoes climb steadily, their clusters hanging heavy against the silver of the spokes, while passionfruit vines curl and cling to the circles. Birds perch lightly on top, pausing to survey the patchwork of basil, marigolds, and leafy greens below. The metal rims sparkle under warm sunlight, not as discarded scraps but as living trellises that hold up the story of this place. Each breath of air carries the scent of herbs and flowers, and each glance reminds us that what is old can be transformed into something enduringly magical. Six. Coca-Cola can herb strip. As the soft light of morning spills across the cobblestones, a border of soda cans transforms the edge of the garden into something almost magical. What was once considered trash, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and Sprite cans, is reborn here as tiny planters, each one brimming with life. Basil leaves stretch upward, rosemary sways gently in the breeze, and mint releases its fragrance when the butterflies brush past. The pastel-painted cans line up neatly like a string of cheerful notes, their colors softened by time and sunlight, blending into the lavender that blooms behind them. The scent of herbs mingles with the sweetness of flowers, creating a calm, living perfume. In another corner, the cans remain bold in their original colors, red, green, silver, blue, holding sprigs of thyme, parsley, and oregano. The bright tones create a playful contrast with the orange marigolds and the deep green of orchard trees swaying beyond the border. It is not only beautiful but also practical. These compact herb planters make it easy to snip a handful of seasoning for the kitchen, turning an everyday walk into a moment of harvest. As the sun lowers into the golden hour, the herb strip glows with an old-world warmth. The cans, some hammered and folded into rustic planters, spill over with chives, dill, and basil. Birds flutter close, curious about this curious border, while pumpkins and grapevines in the background give depth and richness to the scene. It feels less like a garden built by human hands and more like a secret shared by nature, an invitation to see possibility in the ordinary, and to remember that even the smallest discarded thing can be given a new story when placed in the right light. Seven. Brick orchard border. In the stillness of early morning, when the dew is fresh on the leaves and the light spills gently over the hills, a low wall of old red bricks encircles the orchard. The bricks are softened by moss, their edges worn from time, but together they create a sturdy embrace for the apple and pear trees rising above. At the foot of the wall, strawberries creep and carrots push their green tops toward the sun, creating a layered tapestry of fruit, vegetable, and stone. It is a border that does more than mark space. It tells of patience, of work done by hand, of care woven into every season. Further along, a path winds between grapevines heavy with fruit and peach trees glowing with ripeness. Here, the bricks form not just a wall but a living edge, with oregano, basil, and thyme sprouting in the cracks between them. The scent of herbs mingles with lavender nearby, and bees hum in the golden light as though blessing the scene. It feels like walking through a painting where the line between practicality and beauty dissolves completely. And then there is the wider orchard, framed by bricks stacked in patterns that are not perfect, but all the more charming for it. Pumpkins swell at the base, cabbages unfurl their leaves in tidy rows, while beans climb upward with quiet determination. Above, the apple trees are alive with blossoms, their petals drifting like snow in the warm breeze. Butterflies dart between the flowers and the vegetables below, as if stitching the whole garden together with threads of light. The bricks, glowing terracotta in the sun, ground the scene in something both timeless and comforting, a reminder that with a little imagination, even the simplest of materials can cradle abundance and beauty in equal measure. iron gate revival fence. There is something deeply poetic about giving old iron gates a second life in the garden. Once they stood as silent guardians to forgotten houses or courtyards, but here they rise again, not to keep people out, but to invite life in. The intricate swirls of iron, softened by rust and time, now cradle climbing roses and grapevines. Their leaves weave naturally through the metalwork, catching the afternoon sun so that shadows dance across the cobblestone path below. At the base, neat rows of lettuce, radishes, and broccoli push upward, their fresh green leaves glowing with the same light that filters through the gate's ornate design. Elsewhere, an iron gate stands as a trellis for beans and cucumbers, their vines twisting gracefully through the patterns that blacksmiths forged generations ago. Lavender hums with bees, marigolds scatter warmth like sparks of orange fire, and the air carries the sweetness of apple blossoms drifting from the orchard behind. Birds perch along the iron rail, as if it were built for them, filling the quiet with bursts of song. This fusion of strength and delicacy is what makes the transformation so enchanting, iron holding fast, while nature softens its edges with abundance. And then, there are gates with paint faded to green and rust, pieced together like fragments of history, standing tall around pumpkins, eggplants, and basil. Here the fence feels more like a stage, alive with butterflies fluttering in the glow of sunflowers, bees drifting lazily in golden evening light. The vegetables spill outward, the vines climb higher, and the old gates, once relics, become frames for a fairy tale tableau. It is a reminder that beauty doesn't always come from what is new. Sometimes it is reborn in what we choose to cherish again. (9) Vintage suitcase garden wall. There is a quiet kind of magic in giving old objects a second life, especially when they return not as clutter but as vessels of growth. Imagine a wall made entirely of vintage suitcases, stacked carefully along a cobblestone path. Their leather and fabric may be weathered, but once filled with rich soil, they overflow with herbs and flowers, basil, mint, parsley, daisies, and marigolds, each leaf and petal spilling over the edges as if eager to tell a story. Butterflies dance above them, their wings catching the soft morning light, and the garden feels alive with both history and renewal. It's a reminder that beauty often hides in the forgotten corners of our homes, waiting for a new purpose. Walk further, and the scene softens into a rustic border where old suitcases line up side by side like gentle guardians of the garden. Inside them, strawberries gleam red against their green leaves, while lettuce and lavender sway lightly in the breeze. Birds rest on the handles, curious and unafraid, while apple trees and grapevines stretch proudly behind, basking in golden afternoon light. This isn't just a border, it's a living fence, where every suitcase tells a tale and every plant carries the promise of nourishment. And then, as the evening falls, the fairy tale deepens. A garden corner glows where suitcases, painted in soft pastel shades, stand tall as a vertical wall planter. Their compartments brim with cabbages, peppers, and trailing flowers that cascade gently like waterfalls of color. Fireflies flicker among the leaves, their tiny lights blending with the warmth of the sunset, while the air hums with the fragrance of herbs and blossoms. Here, practicality and poetry meet. An old suitcase becomes not just a planter, but a piece of art, a fragment of story, and a touch of wonder in the European countryside. If you ever find yourself with luggage too worn for travel, remember this. It still has journeys to take, only now, they are rooted in the soil, carried forward in green leaves, bright blooms, and the quiet joy of a garden reborn. 10. Clay bath bloom fence. In a world where old objects are often forgotten, sometimes all they need is a second chance to shine. Picture this: a row of weathered clay jars, once used to store water or spices, now standing proudly as planters in a countryside garden. Their earthy tones feel timeless, and inside them herbs burst with life: parsley, basil, rosemary, swaying gently in the breeze. Next to them, an old bathtub, once destined for the junkyard, has been reborn as a thriving raised bed, filled with lettuces, cabbages, and broccoli, their leaves glistening under the morning sun. It's proof that even the simplest containers can become vessels of abundance. What makes this idea so magical is how easily it can be recreated at home. Old tubs, large jars, or even oversized pots can be transformed into planters by filling them with good soil, ensuring proper drainage, and choosing vegetables and herbs that thrive in compact but rich beds. Clay jars, for example, retain moisture well, making them perfect for herbs like mint, thyme, and basil. The bathtub, with its depth, is ideal for bigger crops, pumpkins, eggplants, or leafy greens. And if you let ivy or trailing plants spill over the edges, suddenly what was once plain and practical takes on the feeling of a fairy tale garden. The charm doesn't end there. Imagine marigolds or lavender lining the base, their colors brightening the border while keeping pests away naturally. Birds may come to rest on the rim of the tub, butterflies may dance above the flowers, and the golden glow of evening light will cast shadows that turn the entire border into something alive, magical, and deeply comforting. It's a reminder that sustainability is not just about reusing, it's about reimagining. By giving these old objects a new life, you create not just a garden, but a story worth telling every time someone passes by. And that's how everyday objects, from rims, jars, gates, and even old bathtubs, can transform into stunning garden borders. Each design carries a story, proof that beauty often hides in the things we overlook. Which of these ideas would you try first in your own backyard? Let us know in the comments, we'd love to hear your vision. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who loves DIY, and subscribe for more magical transformations. Together, let's keep turning trash into treasure.